Okay, there we go. All right, hey, I'm Scoot, and I just moved yesterday, and now I've moved into the radio station. So I'm back into the station now. Okay, how's that? That should be okay. I'm sorry, I can't hear myself, and we had some difficulty getting started here. Anyway, um, so my life has been in turmoil for the last last couple of days. What the hell, though? We're here, and this is what we do. We cover a storm, and it's kind of amazing to me that this storm was in the Caribbean, and a week ago this thing was headed for Mexico, and then it was headed for the Tex-Mex border, and then it was headed for Texas, and then maybe Louisiana. Now it's bearing down right toward New Orleans. And the storm has wobbled a little bit to the east. You all have heard this in the latest updates. And moving at 16 miles an hour, which is a very positive thing. And so the storm is expected to be here tomorrow morning. And when it hits landfall, winds 130, 140 miles an hour. That's a hell of a storm. I don't remember. I'm going to have to look this up. I'll try to find this out before I go on the air, but I don't remember the last time hurricane winds hit the city of New Orleans. We've had a lot of strong winds, but I don't remember the last time hurricane winds actually hit the city. But, we're going to be here with you on WWL. We'll be here occasionally on Facebook, but we'll be here on WWL. AM, FM, it's 870 AM, 105.3 FM, or you can download the app Audacy, 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 and type in WWL, and you've got our show and the station wherever you've got your phone. And we know you're going to have your phone with you, all the time right now. Man, make sure that everything, your computers, make sure that your phones, make sure that everything's charged up. One thing that seems to be inevitable is losing power. And we could lose power for quite some time. Let me check you some messages. Energy is talking about possibly weeks. And I know that's really discouraging, but that's the reality of all of this. And this is what we deal with living in this part of the country. Fortunately, we don't have to deal with it very often, but when we have to deal with it, it is a bitch. If you have any comments, if you want to join us, are you staying at home? Most of the people in my new apartment complex in West End are leaving. Most of them seem to leave. A few were going to stay. So if you're gonna stay and weather this storm, what's the most important thing that you have to think about? I remember as a young preteen, I guess, when Hurricane Betsy hit New Orleans in 1965, we lived near the lake and we evacuated. My dad brought us downtown to the Montleon Hotel. Back then it was the Montleon Hotel. Now it's Hotel Montleon. And see, and when they do that, they can start charging a little bit more for the rates when it's Hotel Montleon. But I remember staying there with my family, and we had a couple of friends, Here is a comment. You have a boat docked by the station. No, I don't, but I guess I'm going to need one. Have adapters you can recharge from your car. That's a really good point. Yeah, look, man, just pour in with these. And look, join me on WWL at midnight and help us out with this, because, there are people going through this for the first time, and we can help them. And there's something about being, interactive with all of this. Wherever you are is probably where you're supposed to be. I just drove from West End to the radio station, which is in downtown New Orleans. No traffic, no problem, no bad weather. In fact, leaving my apartment, I looked up in the sky and I saw a star in the sky, and I just thought how rapidly things are going to change. And we don't choose the challenges, and we'll talk more about this after, but let's just start thinking about this now. We don't choose the challenges that we face in life. The only choice we have is how we deal with them. And, I moved out of a building in downtown New Orleans that, because of the neighborhood, I wasn't feeling safe anymore. But that building was built in 1925. And it's still there, and it weathered a lot of storms. And I've weathered storms in that building before, but I just felt the way things had developed, felt the need to move out to the West End area, which is very close to the lake. I'm on the good side of the flood wall, and that's another thing. Look, there's a lot to complain about when it comes to the government and how the government does things, but the government has set up a system where we should be protected. We should be protected. So this was federal tax money, and really everybody in America contributed to the levee system, the floodgates, the flood walls, and the things that we have up now. Everybody contributed to that. Anybody notice if their pets are freaking out? I know pets pick up on how we are and how we feel about things, but did you notice that your pets are doing something different? Are they on high alert? Because animals can sense these changes, and I guess that's for their survival. Here's a comment from Christopher. From the information you have, which hurricane would you compare this to, and how bad do you think it will be? That's a tough question, Christopher. I mean, I don't know. I am still, really hoping for the best, but, for some people, this is going to be very bad. And, you would have thought that, just by chance, with all the hurricanes that Louisiana took last year, that maybe we'd be spared this year. But, look, again, we don't ask for the challenges that we face. We just, face the challenges. But, I mean, the worst storm that I ever saw here in New Orleans was Hurricane Betsy. I was in Pensacola during Camille. I drove through the area right after Camille, came back to New Orleans, and I've been through, Isaac was, and this is the interesting thing about storms. It can be really bad for one area and not so bad for another area. Isaac, during the height of Isaac, I walked from the radio station to my apartment building in downtown New Orleans. Now, it was a tough walk, and it was really windy. There were times that I had to kind of duck behind buildings when there was a gust of wind, but I actually walked. And there was really no significant flooding downtown. But then, like St. John the Baptist Parish and I think St. Charles Parish too, they were just devastated with flooding. So it just depends. And remember, when we hear about Katrina, for New Orleans, Katrina wasn't about the wind. For the Mississippi Gulf Coast, Katrina was more about the wind. For us, it was about the levee breach, the levee breaking, And that really came back to human error, because we learned a lot about the Army Corps of Engineers. We learned a lot about incompetence. We learned a lot about things that were just ignored and not done. And that's what came right after the storm. It was the floodwaters that so devastated the greater New Orleans area. So thanks to government money, and again, I think we have to look for reasons to be positive about the government sometimes, but look, let's give them credit. We're a lot safer. We may get the big test. And I'm saying that right now, as far as Mobile, there could be damaging winds as it shifts to the east. I mean, look, it could get to a certain point where if it shifts to the east, then we would be in better shape than if it goes just to the west of us, because the strongest part of the storm is the dirty side of the storm. The nasty side, the worst side, is the northeast quadrant. And if it's to the west of us, the northeast quadrant, hits us. So, I'm just hoping and praying that everything works out okay. And that if power goes out, which it certainly will, that it's a minimum amount of time and not a lot of time, because it's hot as hell this time of year. I remember we had a storm last year in October, and people were without power. And it wasn't so bad because cold fronts had come through here. That was a really rare phenomenon. So we'll just all do the best we can. I want you to join me on WWL and share your comments with us. Look, if you're in the car, if you're driving, I'd love to know where you are, where you headed. Did you finally get to a hotel? Did you find a room? I would assume that rooms, especially to the east and maybe even to the north, but I would assume that rooms are getting really filled up. And I know this storm is, there was a time you could just go to Baton Rouge and be safe if something was coming to this area. But Baton Rouge is going to take probably a harder hit than New Orleans. So, I wish all of you and I wish all of us the best through all of this. We know we'll get through it. We've done it before. And by the way, don't ignore the pandemic. Don't just suddenly forget about COVID protocol, because, that's something else we still have to think about. I mean, there's going to be enough to deal with after the storm. You don't want to have to deal with COVID on top of that. So we'll be with you during and after this storm. I'm prepared to, like all of us here at WWL, we're prepared to stay here for a couple of days if we have to. In fact, I just want to show you what I got for my office. Just got this from my office. Brought some of my snacks. brought my vitamins. Yeah, so I got a nice blanket. Where's the blanket? Blanket's here somewhere. I got a nice blanket, and I'll pump up this bed in just a little while. Well, I'll be on the air from midnight to 5. So let me go and get caught up on the latest. And join me on WWL Radio starting at midnight, and we'll be with you until 5 a.m. And then News Director Dave Cohen takes over at 5. And then I think Ian Hoke and Ian's going to be with me tonight. We're scheduled to be back on the air at, I think, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'll get a little sleep between 5 and 2 and get caught up on what's going on. And, I've done this before. Many of us have been through this before. We've been through this together. We'll go through this together, and we'll make it, and we'll get through with it, and we will deal with it. And this is just part of living in this part of the country, and there are problems almost everywhere. Some places it's tornadoes. Some places you worry about an earthquake, even though those are not very often. Blizzards and other things. So, many parts of the country are susceptible to the wrath of nature. Excuse me. And this is, this is the nature's wrath, and we're going to feel it. But I'm hoping that I'm hoping that it's better, but I'm concerned that this could be a bad one. But I'm going to be very, very optimistic, and I hope you are as well. I'm Scoot here at WWL. We'll be on the air at midnight, so please join us then, and stay with us. We'll be with you during and after the storm.